Hey there, I'm Sully, and welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty, before we get on much further in all this, we're going to get into a little bit of informational stuff. Going to share a quick promo here for our friends over at Coffee Brand Coffee. I talked about it earlier. They've got the blueberry cobbler up on the picture there. We've had that one in there for a while, and it's actually really good stuff. I will also tell you that the strawberries and cream that came in this week is very well received by the ladies in the office. They also like the French toast. My double caffeinated bag, well, it's back in the back center there because we all know I need a little bit more caffeine sometimes to do these streams, and it sort of kicks me in the butt and gets me going. So, you want to try some really good fresh coffee, top notch stuff, fresh roasted, fresh ground, shipped straight to you. No warehouse, no middleman. It doesn't sit in a tractor trailer or a hot sweaty warehouse for a month before you get it. No, it's to you. So it's about, again, some of the freshest stuff you'll get rather than like roasting your own beans. Yeah, if you want to do that, you got the time, glory be, more power to you. But short of that, hey, give these guys a chance. At least go to their website, check out their reviews, see what's said about them. Because I know I put quite a few reviews on there. I'm all into their cold brew bags. That's my big thing. They got the K cups in now. And again, all the different flavors. The ladies in the office seem to love those. So check it out. We've got the promo code with them. Also, folks, please, if you would, remember to hit the like button. Share this out. Share this with your friends, your family. Why? Because we need to know about this stuff. Some of it, again, maybe a little bit rough around the edges, and for that, I apologize. The oops on the slide, I apologize for. I would say shoot me, but in a group of firearms people, you never say that because someone might do it. Then again, would that be race? But trying to get good information out there. We've got a whole video library up on Rumble, all kinds of stuff. I did this as a Rumble exclusive stream today because, quite frankly, I knew I'd be a little bit on edge talking about some of these stupid media adventures. Now, let's talk and do something a little bit more interesting. We'll talk about pistol braces. Now, again, unless you've been living under a rock for the last several months, you will be aware that there's a little issue about pistol braces going on. But what's a pistol brace? Had someone ask me that question the other day. I said, okay, we're going to do it back to basics here. First off, we talk about pistols. What is a pistol? Well, I'll bring this up on the big screen for us here. Make it a little easier to read. A pistol, by definition by the ATF, means a weapon originally designed, made, intended to fire a projectile from one or more barrels when held in one hand, and having a chamber as an integral part or permanently aligned with the bores, and a short stock designed to be gripped by one hand, held at an angle to and extending right below the line of the bores. The big one in there is when held with one hand. That was what the big thing is, when held with one hand. Now, the term rifle means a weapon designed to be, or redesigned, made or remade, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. Put up against your shoulder. Shoulder the weapon. Designed or redesigned and made to use the energy of the explosive in a fixed metallic cartridge to fire a single projectile through a rifled bore for each individual pull of the trigger. Okay, so pistols are designed for one-handed use. Rifles are designed to be put on your shoulder. Okay, so far so good. We got that. This is where it gets complicated. Don't worry, we've done this before. I'm a trained professional. There is such a thing as what's called a short-barreled rifle. The reason is, since the Firearms Act, rifles have had to have a barrel of at least 16 inches in length and an overall object length of at least 26 inches. This was required because the people who were writing the law at the time were concerned with sawed-off rifles and sawed-off shotguns. Shotguns are required to have a barrel of at least 18 inches in length. 17.9 is your felony, 18.1 you're fine. So again, you've got to have that 18-inch barrel on a shotgun, 16-inch on a rifle. Now, if you have a short-barreled rifle, which is under 16, or an overall length of under 26, or again, a short-barreled or sawed-off shotgun that's under 18 inches length barrel, those are considered an NFA, or National Firearms Act item. And any NFA item, the mere act of owning or possessing it, requires a lot of additional rules and regulations and red tape, and we'll talk about some of those later. So, once upon a time, a company came up with an idea and said, well, could we make a pistol-style firearm that doesn't really have a rifle stock to it? It's designed to be fired with one hand, but it's a little bit bigger than the average pistol. And they started working on ideas. Well, in 2012, SB Tactical developed a concept of what they call a pistol brace. The device was designed to allow individuals with limited hand or arm strength to use or control the firearm more safely, have better control and management of recoil. It was actually originally developed for a disabled vet. However, disabled people could use it. People with limited hand and arm strength could use it. Also, people could use them who just, again, wanted to. And it was designed to be a brace for a pistol. And that brace actually gave them enough surface area. They were able to control it with their limited dexterity and limited experience. So, SB Tactical says, you know what? We want to make sure this is okay. So they contact the ATF Technical Division and submit their design to the ATF Technical Division and say, hey, look this over and see what you think. Does this look legit to you? Is this something that would be okay? And what they did was they made a design. This is actual pictures from their patent submission of a pistol brace. Now, if you look at the picture on the left, it shows where there's like a Velcro strap running around the back end of it. If you look at the picture on the right, it shows where it's got the two little flaps that come down, and that strap undoes, those flaps open up. You can put your arm or wrist through there, Velcro it to your arm, and thus the pistol will be attached to your arm. Fair enough. That will help you control it. The other thing is, because of the fact of the weight of the firearm being out on the front end, in front of where your hand is, the strap on the back holding it to your arm helps balance that weight out. It's like a cantilever. Picture your hand as the T-point or the meeting point of the seesaw. It's going to help support it. But this is a pistol brace. It's not a rifle stock. It's not designed to make a rifle. It's designed to make a pistol brace. It's designed to make a pistol out of this frame. Shows something like this. The items on the left are both pistol braces. Again, it's got a rubberized thing here. You put your hand in down here, Velcro it to your arm, and thus it helps support the weight of it, because the weight on the other side of the fulcrum is, the barrel of the rifle or the barrel of the pistol. If you look at the item on the right is clearly a rifle stock. It's got traction grooves on it. It is solid. It is not floppy. It is not designed to strap onto your arm. There's no way to put your arm up into it. They look very similar at a quick glance, but they perform two totally different functions. And that's where we get into a problem. Two totally different functions. One is for a one-handed operation. One is clearly for a two-handed operation. Now, can I personally handle either one of those firearms one-handed? Yes. But can everybody, people with limited grip strength, amputees, things like that, only have one arm. Now, they don't work the same way for them they do for us. So these pistol braces were kind of born, best you can say. How does it work? Well, again, here's a quick picture of a pistol brace. It shows the brace. Again, you slide your arm up through here, and that shows it strapped onto the arm. What's it doing? Well, again, if where your hand is your center of balance, and your barrel is pulling down on the other side, this is going to help keep that back end from rising up on you. Provide more control for disabled vets, for the elderly, for anyone else who wants to shoot this weapon. It gives them an extra point of contact on their wrist. And again, for a one-handed person to control a pistol, control recoil, this type of construction is very useful. So the ATF said, yes, it's okay. We're good with this. They approved the design. They said it's okay. So after the ATF Technical Division approved these in May of 2013, SB Tactical, Sig Sauer, and Century Arms began marketing these devices. Now, while there's different devices and designs available for various firearms, one of the common ones was they made AR-15s into pistols. The reason is the AR has that buffer tube on the end. It's either taken up by the stock in the rifle configuration, or it's a great place to attach a brace in a pistol configuration that naturally lends itself to this use. Now, the availability of these devices made it more comfortable, more controllable. They became very popular. Somewhere between 10 and 40 million of them have been sold in our country thus far. Now, if we've got between 10 and 40 million of them in our country thus far, what is that telling us? A lot of our friends, a lot of our neighbors may have gone out and done something like this. Because it was a pistol, it didn't have to have a 16-inch length barrel. Because it was a pistol, it can be a 7-inch barrel to have less weight out on the front end, weighing it down. Again, for a one-handed shooter, for someone to be able to control it more easily. Great. So we'll have this wonderful device, and we'll sell millions of them. And SB Tactical made money and did wonderful things. Other companies have gotten in the mix now. There's a bunch of different companies. And it's not really important for me to include the gun with me, but how about we look at how many people have done this in various states, something that was totally legal. They went out and bought an AR-15 with a pistol brace. Totally legal. It was not considered a short-barreled rifle. That was a brace. It was not a stock. If you look, there's a very clear difference between what a brace is and what a stock is and what they both do. So these start getting sold. Well, it soon became obvious some individuals were using them to shoulder a firearm. Now, if you use it in a manner not intended or designed by the manufacturer, okay, this led a question to come up to the ATF. If the firearm was used from the shoulder position, would it still be considered a pistol, or would that somehow make it a rifle? Even though it wasn't designed that way, not marketed that way, people were doing it. Again, people do different things that aren't always what was nature intended. Remember, I think Viagra was actually originally designed to be a blood pressure medicine. I guess we learned how well that worked. People using it not quite as intended. But once it got to the point that people were doing it, people asked the ATF, would this reclassify this item? No, it would not, because its primary design was still to be fired one-handed. And you can go through, and a lot of people have all the letters published of these. If you're interested in getting the published copies of these letters, I'll be happy to share them with you. So in 2012, the ATF said it was legit. In 2014, the ATF said even if you use it incorrectly or use it in a different manner, we wouldn't reclassify the item based on how one person uses it wrongly. Wouldn't make sense, would it? No, of course not. These are legal things. We already said it was legal. What's the big deal? Well, wait a minute, hold on. 2015, the ATF issues a public letter reversing the decision, stating that if the braces were fired from the shoulder, this would automatically classify the weapon as an SBR, a short-barreled rifle. So this ends up in a mess, because if this little bracing thing is illegal now, what do we have? You've got law enforcement agencies who I'm sure have some of these. Not really fair, is it? Not really living up to, standards of the Constitution. No, they didn't let anyone know anything. They just more or less let everyone find out. Now, we have this whole discussion. 2015. If it's fired from the shoulder, now it's an SBR. So now it's subject to all these other rules and regs. And if you have one of these and it's not specially registered with the NFA and you don't have a special $200 tax stamp on it and go through a bunch of extra paperwork on it, if you dare own that, you're a federal felon. And if we catch you with it, we'll take all your guns, put you in jail. ATF can raid your house, all kinds of wonderful things. This leads to a legal battle. SIG, SB Tactical, the ATF, Congress gets involved. This was a absolutely shit show of a shit show. And it was really, look, you tell us what the rules are. Most firearm owners will play by the rules. We tend to be pretty law-abiding individuals. Got a little, that's going to be a stream later in the week about CWP owners being pretty much law-abiding individuals. So in 2017, after a 2-year battle, they said, yeah, we're going to revert back to that 2014 position. What was that 2014? If it was fired from the shoulder, since it wasn't being used as designed, it would not reclassify the firearm. Okay, that was close. We almost had something really stupid go on there. Wouldn't that be awful to do that? Well, enter the Honey Badger in 2020. And the Honey Badger was a firearm made by a company named Q Innovations, I believe. As you look at that, there's a picture of our beloved Honey Badger right there. And as you look at it, it has what appears to be a pistol brace on it. If we zoomed in really close, we could see it's got the typical Velcro strap on it. If we looked on the end on end, we'd see the typical little wings there for you to put your hand into. And again, for somebody with limited hand and arm strength, or only one hand or arm to fire this weapon, the brace makes it much easier and much safer and better to control. Well, Q comes out with this. Shortly after they've been selling a bunch of them, they get calls from the ATF. Cease and desist. Stop selling it. What? You're selling a short-barreled rifle. But Q went to them and said, look, we showed you the original design of this. You approved it as a pistol based on a pistol brace. Now we come out with the design and you say, no, it's not. But wait a minute, in 2017, you said that yes, it was. And in 2014, you said yes, it was. And in 2012, it was okay. But 2020, nope, this is a short-barreled rifle. The company had to call everybody who bought one of these and basically warn them that they may have become felons overnight. How'd you like to be the law-abiding citizen who bought something totally legal at the gun store and suddenly get a call from the manufacturer and say, yeah, the ATF changed their policy last week, and so you're now potentially arrestable for a felony. Up to 10 years in jail. You've got a short-barreled rifle. No, I've got the pistol that you sold me. No, it's a short-barreled rifle. Now, it bears going into real quickly. I know the firearms owners get this. I know the people who deal with this stuff get this. But it bears repeating in one big saga here, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit on this. The difference between a pistol brace and a rifle stock is literally, one is soft and floppy so it can conform to your arm as you put it around when you Velcro it in place, and one is solid, up against which you can rest your shoulder or other position. They're different items, doing different things, but in truth, neither one of them affects the firearm's action at all, or method of operation, or we'll say how it fires. And why is that important for us to think about? Why would we care about that? Neither one of them will make it a machine gun. Neither one of them will make it any deadlier or any more efficient. Neither one of them will make it fully automatic, although one congressman did actually state that a pistol brace was the same thing as a bump stock designed to make it into a machine gun. And three of his colleagues rapidly shot him down and told him what an idiot he was. Thomas Massey had to explain to him that no, it's not. It's something for people with limited arm strength to be able to hold and support safely the weight of the gun one-handed. The end. It is something to be able to use the gun one-handed. The end. It does not change its function, its shooting, its power, its nothing. It lets you use it one-handed. That's it. But we have gotten into a situation where the person who is the new head of the ATF actually says that he's not even much of a gun guy, so he doesn't really know what things are. And yes, that was actually said, and I've got a clip of that. Going to come in with that one of these days. But we keep on here because this is where this gets fun. After the uproar from the gun community in Congress, the regulations were withdrawn 4 months later because the gun community said you can't sell something as legal and then make it illegal overnight and turn everyone into felons. I want you to say, let's say they said that, okay, pickup trucks that are jacked up or elevated in any way, they're totally legal to buy them, totally legal to put them on your pickup truck, everything else. And all of a sudden, the Fed said, we think that these pickup trucks that are jacked up are actually really, now they're going to make them illegal. As a matter of fact, if you even have one, we're going to make you a felon. Yeah, you have like 120 days to turn the truck in, or we're going to put you in a federal pen for something that was legal to buy last week. That ain't right. That ain't the way this country was founded. Again, at the simplest level, if they want to say, look, no more braces after this, or effective immediately, you can't do it anymore, but grandfather the ones, the people who bought them legitimately, fine. My next thing is, when I look at these horrific shootings, because again, this is all part of gun control, we're going to make life safe, right? Blow this one up. This is gun control. This is going to make people safer. We're going to make people safer by arguing what's a pistol versus a rifle and what's a pistol brace versus a rifle stock, because the ATF can do that so well. While we've got 15 and 16-year-old kids going to birthday parties with guns. They're worried about pistol braces. They're worried about ghost guns. Be interesting to find out what weapons were involved. I'm willing to bet probably wasn't an AR-15, because that would be a little bit much scary to a birthday party. And nobody has said it had an AR-15 or a ghost gun or anything else. So, yeah. We've got 32 kids getting shot at a birthday party, at a Sweet 16 party. And our beloved ATF in Washington is in a pissing contest over pistol braces and rifle stocks. Folks, it ain't working. It ain't working. So let's keep going here. This gets withdrawn, 12 of 20. Well, as our long-range trip continues, in June of 2021, the ATF again aimed to redefine these rifles in such a way as to exclude the braced ARs and make them into SBRs. Now, the difference between a rifle and a short-barreled rifle is a barrel of 16 inches versus a barrel of less than 16 inches. This gets fun. So a barrel of 12, 14 inches is this big bad SBR. A barrel of 16 inches is just an average ordinary rifle. They function identically, but the difference of 2, 3, 5 inches is going to change it that much. Why was this even done? Well, they were worried about people with sawed-off shotguns, sawed-off rifles, making them so much more easy to conceal. That was before handguns were as reliable as they are now. This is way before handguns, way before a lot of the better quality handguns came out. Because if you look, a rifle, even with a 10-inch barrel, overall, 14, 15 inches, it's too easy to conceal. What about a handgun? Oh, well, yeah, that's easier to conceal. So really, the whole concept of a short-barreled rifle, and us worried about SBRs, well, a pistol would easily be much shorter than a short-barreled rifle. Any average ordinary pistol. So you want to call them pistols? We'll follow pistol rules. But no, we're going to call them short-barreled rifles to put them in this other category. They get special taxes collected on it. $200 tax stamps. We can make a little money here, I guess. Why not? As long as we're going to basically change the rules midstream. Yeah. Imagine they come out tomorrow and told everybody who had a car they could drive over 100 miles an hour. We're now declaring it a race car, and now you have to get special tags and this and that and the other, or just turn it into us. What do we turn it in? It's not good. This is not good. It's a really big mess. So they're trying to reclassify existing devices that people have already bought and try to come up with a point system because, they're going to make this make sense somehow. Now, the point system, I got to blow this one up so you can see it, was actually created this form where you could grade your firearm and rate your firearm based on different factors. How long it is, how many ounces it weighs, what type of ammunition it fires. Does it have a grip safety on it? Does it have a magazine safety? Does it have a firing pin lock? Again, all these different features. And you rate that. And depending on where you came in on that rating sheet would determine whether or not you had a pistol or a rifle. And whether, depending what it was, you're either a felon or not. And if you weren't sure about all this, well, guess what? You could just turn your weapon into them because otherwise, well, you're a felon. We have got, again, the powers that be, for whatever reason, seem hell-bent on, demonizing John Q. Public because, hey, we can make this into a rifle. We can come up with criteria. Well, guess what? This form was pretty much blown away and laughed out of everything, so the form is gone. However, the law still applies, or the ruling still applies, and that's the other thing. It's not a law. All of this has been done by federal regulation. Now, when you get into federal regulation, I understand that the ATF is empowered by law to create regulations, much like the Department of Health can create health regulations for restaurants. Not everything needs to be passed by a law. But if you're looking at something that could turn 10 to 40 million Americans into felons, do you think it should be passed through Congress by a law or by a group of people sitting around an ATF conference table trying to figure this out that haven't been able to figure it out for the last 10 years? Bingo, they have not figured this out for 10 years. So in January of 2023, a full 10 years after these items have been on the market, they finalized the regulations and are scheduled to begin enforcement May 31 of 2023. And this is where it gets dangerous. Their ruling will pretty much, for the most part, reclassify most forms of pistol braces as a rifle stock. Does it affect all of them? Well, maybe. It's going to be based on their discretion. So if it's based on their discretion, they'll let you know. If they decide, yes, turn around, put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail for a federal felony. This is dangerous beyond you can imagine. If they determine that this is a rifle stock, not a pistol brace, they'll look at the individual, and they said they'd make the decision on a case-by-case basis. What does that do to us as firearms owners? If you own a brace, what do? You've got one of these things that you bought totally legally, totally above board, went through your background check. You're not the bad guy. You haven't shot up any Sweet 16 parties. What's going to happen? How does this happen? Well, guess what? You got some choices. Where we're at now, there have been numerous lawsuits filed. Pretty much, I know Gun Owners of America has been into it. The 2A Association has been into it. I know that Fudbusters has done 2 or 3 things on the law end of all this, as far as the lawsuits that are being filed. You know, he's an attorney. Give Mr. LaRosier all the props in the world. He's gone through the legal stuff. But right now, we're sort of hanging in limbo because the clock is ticking. I'd love one of the lawsuits to at least come up with an injunction to delay any enforcement while the lawsuits are pending. Have a court, any one of the courts where the lawsuits have been filed, say, okay, we're not going to arrest anybody until we figure out what the law is, if it's going to stand or not, or whether this is going to stand. Based on what they call Chevron deference, in the law, it says that there are certain situations that a regulatory agency is overstepping their bounds by trying to write new law, and thus they should refer that back to Congress, who actually writes the laws in this country, to make a law, not just something they cooked up at a conference table. There are requests to remove the regulation because, honestly, it does nothing. It changes the firearms in no functional way. All it does is, oh, wow, I've got a pistol brace. So now if it's a pistol brace, I can have a shorter barrel than if I had a rifle stock. Okay. Now, again, they could grandfather existing braces in. Wouldn't that be nice? It would be like the simplest part. Okay, John Q. Public bought these things. They were totally legal when they were purchased. John Q. Public didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything bad. Let's not turn our fellow Americans into felons overnight based on a conference table decision by a bunch of unregulated, unelected bureaucrats. Yeah, y'all can tell I'm in rare form on the rant tonight. Plenty of coffee in the system, though. That's a good thing. Folks, the clock is ticking because as of 5/31, that pistol brace that you bought, and if they've got sales records from these gun dealers and see who bought pistol braces, could they already have your name on a list? And could they show up June 1 at your house and charge you with a federal felony? Yeah, they could. Will they? I don't know. The way this has been handled has been so horrifically bad up to this point. I don't like to think they do that. I like to have as much possible faith in decency and say, okay, there's a problem. We need to address it. We need to work it out and figure out how to get through this. I think an injunction to delay the enforcement while they at least find out what they're going to do with all the lawsuits. Because again, they've got where the ATF approved these in writing many times. It's not something we're making up. It's not like, oh yeah, we went out and did something crazy and they caught us doing it. No, they went out and did something, sent them copies of it, showed them what they were doing, and they said, yeah, that's fine. Then they said, no, it's not. If they change the speed limit in front of your house from 55 to 45 tonight and write you a ticket for speeding yesterday, you've got a problem, and I agree with you. So there you are. How do we handle this ticking clock? First of all, if you've got braces, you need to be watching this stuff for your own well-being. Because if you've got a brace, who's to say what happens June 1st? We don't know. They're trying to stop this. And again, one of these lawsuits may be successful. And as soon as I hear the one is, I'm going to immediately throw it out on the channel and let y'all know. So definitely subscribe, stay on top of this stuff, watch this stuff. If not here, somewhere. Again, Um, can't think of his first name over at Fudbusters. He's on top of this stuff. He's very, very active in the gun rights stuff. He's testified in front of Congress about these issues, about the stupidity of it. Yes, he went and testified to Congress about how stupid this stuff is. Now, if you have one, some things you can do to keep it. Well, you can reconfigure the device or the firearm in such ways to make it a rifle. Basically, if it has a barrel less than 16 inches, you put a 16-inch barrel on it. In the case of an AR-15, if you have some basic gunsmithing tools and you're able to do basic gunsmithing, great. Otherwise, go talk to your local gunsmith, whoever you use, and say, look, how much, at least get a cost price idea on it. How much is it going to cost me to reconfigure this? And what's your timeline on it? What's your weight on it? Because these gunsmiths are going to be getting busy in the next month, I promise you. Why? Because between 10 and 40 million of our fellow Americans have these braces. And between 10 and 40 million Americans are going to have to do something about them. And it's going to pretty much sit in one of these four. Reconfigure it to make it a rifle. Say, look, I'll make it a rifle instead. I'll put a 16-inch barrel on it, and that way it's totally legal. And if they show up and say, well, you bought a brace? Say, yeah, I did. And it's now a rifle stock? Yeah, and here's the rifle it's on. It's totally legal as a rifle. Number 2, go through all the additional requirements of Form 1 to register it as an SBR. And we'll talk about what brings down and what comes into being an SBR here later on. It's not as easy as it sounds. Next one, destroy it, surrender it to the ATF or local law enforcement. And it's interesting to note, if law enforcement has any of these in their stash, not an officer's personal stash, but in a law enforcement agency stash, they are going to have to be registering their guns with the feds. So again, if you work in law enforcement and you have any braced weapons that were purchased at any point, guess what? You now have to get rid of it or register it as a short barrel rifle. Now, if you wish to destroy or surrender or get rid of the bad firearm, I'm going to put my information up here. I am more than happy, especially if you live nearby here in the area. I will personally come out, pick it up from you, and make sure that it's taken care of properly. And so you will not have to worry about it. My email is down there on the bottom. You can contact me via Facebook on the Gun Club podcast. You can, contact me on locals.com. My email, like I said, it's right there on the bottom. By all means, if you want to get rid of something because you just don't want that nasty pistol brace around, you want to get rid of that nasty AR so you won't accidentally shoot all your neighbor's kids or something because their ball goes in your yard, I'm here for you. And I will do my best to take care of that as quickly as possible for you, because I understand, maybe you just don't feel comfortable owning a firearm, and I'm good with that. I'm more than happy to take disposable firearms from you because, I'll help you out with that, no problem. That's just the kind of person I am, and I want to see you be safe, and I want to see everything work out for the best for you. So, hey, by all means, if you want to get rid of something, you've got my contact information. Next option, roll the dice. And I've heard a few people say that they are considering this. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's the smartest or safest thing to do. This is not a parking ticket. This is not a speeding ticket. Again, like I said, what's the worst that could happen? 10 years. ATF knock on your door and say, we want to see this gun, this gun, this gun, and this gun, and you end up getting 10 years apiece. Even if you don't get 1 second of jail time, getting arrested and charged with federal felonies. Okay, every other gun on the property goes with them too. I'm sure you can petition to get them back at some point. I'm sure that'll work out just swimmingly. And we know that the deadline's in a month and a half. I put a lot of time into doing the research on this pistol brace stuff because I'm afraid and I'm scared for not even people I personally know, although I've talked to a couple I personally know, but other people out there who may not be aware of or not on top of this thing they bought that was totally legal, that they thought was really cool, and they went out and they got it. Let's say it's something like a honey badger, and all of a sudden that honey badger they've got is a 10-year run in the federal pen. Getting locked up and taken to a federal jail is a bad day. Having to come up with bail money for a federal felony is a bad day. Hiring an attorney to defend you in a federal felony case is a bad day. The potential fines are a bad day, and we haven't even talked about prison yet. Losing all of your firearm rights and potentially your voting rights as a result of this is a bad day. Because now you're a federally convicted felon. Would you have to tell your boss about that? The deadline's coming. I'm not a fan of number 4. I'm working on a couple of options as far as what I'm going to do. No, I'm not destroying or surrendering any of my stuff. Good try, though. If I was, I'll be more than happy to let y'all know. I'm not going to destroy one of my firearms or any of my firearms over this bullshit. Because the fly will come back the other way very quickly. So to keep that in the back of our mind. Folks, it is what it is. Don't shoot the messenger. Again, reconfiguring something to make it a rifle, taking that 10-inch barrel off, putting a 16-inch barrel on an AR, not too complicated to do. If I know that I've talked to a couple of places about getting different estimates on it, different ideas as far as cost to purchase a longer barrel, get it done, modified, whether I do it myself, whether I have a friend of mine who's a gunsmith do it. Honestly, I don't know. It doesn't look too complicated for me, but then again, I've done a lot of work on my ARs. If you're not comfortable working on them, I'd say, look, take the money and blow it on having a professional do it, just a little bit safer on that side, unless you're really comfortable doing work on it. Because having a rifle do something bad when you're shooting it right up close to your face, you don't want. That's not a good weekend at the range. But the thing is, know about what's going on, know what's coming down, be aware of it, come up with a plan now. Because if you are trying to get a longer barrel, say, put a 16-inch barrel on it, that's great. Makes sense. I'm on board with that idea. But the next question is, can you find a 16-inch barrel? Because remember, between 10 and 40 million of these are out there. What's the wait time at your gun shop to be able to get this thing made legal? Now, if you're going to complete the requirements to register it as an SBR, that's going to take some work. That's additional federal forms to fill out. You have to do additional fingerprints, background checks to purchase an SBR or to transfer it. You will actually be creating one. This may take months to do. You actually need to then, if you do make it an SBR and it becomes a regulated short barrel rifle, you must then, if you transport it across state lines, you must get prior written approval from the ATF in order to do so. Not required on any other firearm, but on an SBR, short-barreled shotgun, grenade launcher, things like that. Yeah, that's where they're putting this. Other destructive devices, we'd need to get permission if we're traveling across state lines with it. So if you've got that 10-inch barreled AR that you want to take hunting, guess what? If you have to travel multiple states or you go on hunting adventures, you've now got a lot of regulations attached to that firearm. It may end up becoming queen of the gun safe. Now, you do have to get a $200 tax stamp in order to transfer it or for someone to purchase it from you. And they would have to then go through all of this. The thing is, for us right now, they do have the grace period until 5/31 that they're not going to charge us the $200 tax on it for us registering existing pistol braces as short barrel rifles. They said they'll do that. You can register it, tell them everything you've got, and give them all the serial numbers and everything else. And then at that point, they will raise it to the level of the grade SBR and all the associated drama that comes with it. Well, you then are stuck with that forever because you've made it a short barrel rifle. Okay. One big one is it must be in the control of the registered owner at all times. So let's say I take a pistol brace and I decide, okay, I'm going to register this pistol as an SBR. I go through all the paperwork, 13 pages worth, and you can do some of it electronically now, and there are some places that are helping you do it. Check with your local gun dealers, your larger ones. They may have a way of helping you do it or know someone who will. You submit all this paperwork, you submit the additional fingerprints, you do all this, you get the federal ID number for your SBR. It must be then in your control at all times. Now, what does that mean? If I do it and I go to the range with you and I'm shooting it and you say, hey, can I pop off a couple of rounds out of that? No, I'm sorry, you can't. If I let you use it, then we've both potentially committed a felony. They're actually getting that strict about this stuff. Again, does this make sense? Once again, if you go back to the last video I shot, our wonderful people in Washington are fixing problems we don't have. SBRs are not the problem. AR pistols are not the problem. I will admit that, there was an AR pistol used in the Tennessee shooting, but there was also a simple 9mm carbine used as a handgun too. Now, you may actually live in a state, and this could sort of jar you a little bit, that SBRs are totally prohibited. In some states, the mere ownership of an SBR is illegal. So look at your state laws, because before you say, okay, I can either replace the barrel or get it registered as an SBR. Well, I'm going to get it registered as an SBR. You can go through all the work to get it registered as an SBR and suddenly find out that you're in a state that does not allow you to register an SBR. Some of the states, I think New York, New Jersey, different states have different requirements. Look into that. If it's totally prohibited in your state, that takes one of your options out of there. Now, if it's totally prohibited in that state and you need to get rid of the gun, call me. We'll work something out. I've been known to adopt a couple of rescue puppies, and I'm more than happy to rescue, poor guns that need a good home. And make sure they're properly taken care of and fed and watered well and lubricated regularly and loved on properly. Folks, that's all I've got for today. I know we've covered a lot, really banged through a lot. I know I did a little bit of a rant there, and if that bugged you, I'm sorry. I'm hoping that the stuff on the SBR was good. I'm hoping at least if you've got one, if you didn't know about it, if you need information, reach out to me. Check out Fudbusters on YouTube. He's on top of this stuff. Like I said, he's been testifying in Congress about this. Ideally, in the perfect world, we would not have this situation. This ain't right. I don't agree with this for 1 second. I think it's absolutely a total shit show. I think it's really bad, and I think it's really destructive. That being said, all I've got for today. Y'all have a wonderful day. Please give me a like, give me a share, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment down below. What'd you think? Good, bad, ugly. Later on this week, I've got a couple of videos I'm working on. One of them is some training tips, and one of them is real interesting question I had someone ask me the other day. Should I get my CWP license? Do you think I should? Should I not? And what's the pluses and minuses of whether I get my CWP? Well, of course you should get your CWP. But we had some really interesting ideas. Beyond that, should you carry? You've got your CWP. Should you carry all the time? When should you not carry? Are there any times you should not carry? What do you think? We may cover that and get into that a little bit. All righty. Peace out. Take care of yourselves. Be safe, folks.